Do you have a lot of product to sell, but you're not quite sure how to get the word out there about all that product? Have you considered radio ads? Yes, radio ads. This episode is all about them, why you might want to choose them, how they work, and what potential they could have from someone who actually ran one for their farm. Stay tuned to find out how it worked coming up. Welcome to Grassfed Life. I'm your host, Diego, D-I-E-G-O. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's been a long break, a longer break than the veg people had to have. I'm sorry about that, but there's been a lot happening in the background. I hope you had a productive summer, both in terms of your business and in terms of life. I hope you spent the summer months enjoying things on the farm and off the farm, enjoying things in your life that aren't just all about things we talk about on this show. That stuff is critically important, and life can change very quickly. With an accident, with an injury, with an illness, everything that we have today could suddenly be different tomorrow. Don't take that for granted. For today's episode number 106, I'm talking to farmer Kelly Bush. Kelly's somebody who's been on the podcast before. He has a grass-based operation in Kentucky where he raises pigs, cattle, and certified organic hay. Earlier this year, Kelly found himself in a bind. He had a problem, and a problem that many of you can empathize with. He had a whole bunch of product, and he wasn't sure where he was going to sell it. Farmers markets weren't working out for him. And as a result, he had a freezer full of meat that he had to move. So one of the ideas that he came up with to move this meat was through a bulk sales program. Well, a bulk sales program is great. It's a great way to move a lot of meat, but it's useless unless somebody knows about that program. People have to sign up for the program so you, the farmer, can benefit from that sales program. But how do you get people to sign up? How do you get people to hear about it? There's email marketing and social media and online ads, and there's also the traditional way, the old school way, radio ads. That's one of the routes that Kelly chose to market his bulk sales program, and today he's going to talk about why he did it, what it was like in terms of logistics and what he had to put into it, cost and commitments and all those types of things, and how he thinks it's going to work. And next week we'll circle back with Kelly, fast forwarding a few months into the future after the ad has run, and find out how it all worked out. Let's jump right into it. Radio ads for farm marketing with Kelly Bush. So Kelly, you're in year 2 of raising pigs. You had 6 pigs last year. You have 25 pigs on farm right now. And one of the challenges that you're having is moving that product. Can you talk about what you're dealing with in your local area there in Kentucky when it comes to moving meat and some of the struggles you're facing there?
So this is one of the things that I had really anticipated in trying to move the product in Kentucky is that there wasn't really a large enough market for organic. So my whole plan initially was to market the product in Nashville. Part of the problem there is I went to the Nashville Farmers Market and spoke to a gentleman that was running a booth for another farm. He was working for the farm, so it wasn't actually the owner. And he told me that, he was only making about $500 a day there at that farmer's market. I had contacted that farmer's market about being a potential vendor, and I thought, getting in was kind of a surefire thing since I was organic, but that wasn't really the case. They would only let me in on Sunday, and he was only doing $500 in sales on a Saturday. So Sunday would have been absolutely terrible. There's another farmer's market, the National Farmers Market at Vanderbilt, but I couldn't get into that farmer's market because you have to do a day at the Nashville Farmers Market. So that kind of put that on the back burner. Based on the conversation I had with that gentleman at the Nashville Farmers Market, he said the Murfreesboro Farmers Market was a great place to go. I contacted the Murfreesboro Farmers Market, and they wouldn't let me in because I'm in Kentucky. So finally I got around to the East Nashville Farmers Market, and they are actually going to let me in that farmers market. But from the beginning, I've never been a fan of the farmers market. So what we're going to try to do in conjunction with that farmers market is sell direct to the consumer in Kentucky and in Nashville. But what we are going to start doing is Facebook and radio ads. So that's how we're initially going to get the word out to the public.
So sell right off farm where people could do a bulk type program like Darby does, or would you sell boxes or retail cuts?
So we're going to save the retail cuts for the East Nashville Farmers Market, but we're going to do halves and wholes on farm. So it's kind of like what Darby does, I guess, with the turkey. You know, he'll bring the product back to the farm, and then they'll meet me at the farm and pick up their product. I have to go pick up the product from the butcher. I can't send these people or the customers to the butcher because the butcher is 2 hours away. He's the only one he's the closest one to me that's organic. So I feel like trying to send folks to this guy would be a nightmare. So I'm going to bring everything back on farm. Should we get any purchases and divvy it out that way.
Let's say you weren't organic. How would that change the picture in terms of potential sales outlets?
So, just with the research that I've done so far, everyone and their mother is doing grass-fed beef. So that's something we hope to do in conjunction with the pork sales. We really hope that pork sales will bring in customers for other products. But I've always felt like the organic certification is kind of my unfair advantage in that I'm really the only one that's certified organic in the area. There's actually very few in the state that are certified organic and hardly any certified organic in Tennessee. So really, for me, that's kind of the unfair advantage is that I'm organic, I'm local, and I'm raising these animals in a sustainable manner. So that was the reason for that, and that's hopefully the marketing ploy and aspect of being organic.
If you had non-certified organic pork, would there be a market for that? Like, do you have to drive up your price on your pork because of the organic certification, and then that's what's led to a small to non-existent local market that you mentioned earlier? Or is it just there's not much of a local market for local meat anyway?
So in Bowling Green, Kentucky, there's not a huge market for local meat. There are people buying local meat at the Bowling Green Farmers Market, but it's a very small farmers market. The prices that folks are getting for the meat at the farmers market is well below what I want to charge and well below what Darby is charging for his product. As far as pricing for my product goes, being certified organic doesn't drive up the cost too terribly much. I'm still looking at making anywhere from $500 to, I believe it's $800 per pig. And that's using the same prices that Darby is using.
With that model, doing it that way, you'll have that organic product which you'll sell off farm that you're advertising via Facebook, via radio now, and then you'll be bringing some of that product to the farmers market. Given that that's not your primary choice, the farmers market or that farmers market where you're selling at this stage of the farm, like what do you need to get out of a market like that to make sense financially? You're saying before 500, that's not that great doing that. When you go into this new market, what do you need to see?
I would like to see at least $1,000, if not more. I mean, I would really like to see $1,500 out of a farmer's market.
And with that coming in, I mean, what are your potential ways there that you can push that up? Is it flying the organic flag? Is that one way to drive that up? Is it, I mean, is the local thing a thing because you're in Kentucky selling into Tennessee?
I think so. I'm starting the radio ad in Kentucky as a test because I didn't want to start it in Nashville and be overwhelmed. The retail cuts are going to the farmer's market, but we're also going to try to push the wholes and halves there. I mean, the only product that I'm going to have at this farmer's market initially is the organic pork. What I really want to do in the long term is to do all on-farm sales. So we would have a cooler, we would have field days at the farm, and then, people would either purchase over the internet or they would purchase through the on-farm location.
Doing these radio spots, that's something unique that I don't think I've ever talked to a farmer who's done before on the veg side or the livestock side. When you first started researching this as a marketing avenue, how did you start weighing this out? What were the pros and cons of going the radio route?
So it was honestly a radio ad that the radio station was running. They were talking about social media and how, you have this flashy website and this great social media presence, but people aren't actually driven to those mediums because nobody knows that it's out there. So it was really that kind of got me interested in doing the radio spot because I think that, I think there is a market for local products in Kentucky. I know there's a local market for it in Nashville, but I want to start out in the Kentucky market so I'm not overwhelmed, and it's kind of my test bed. The radio spot's going to be about $1,000, and that's a month of ads. Their normal spot is about 3 months, but, we had the conversation, and my concern was, well, if I'm a month into it, I've only got so many butcher dates. My butcher dates are already set up. I can only sell so much product during that time frame. If we run it for 3 months and I sell out a product in the first month, then what am I going to do with the contract for 2 months? It's going to be nothing. And, conversely, I said, if we run this ad for a month and I don't sell anything, then there's no use in me doing the ads for the next 2 months because it's just not the right market for it. But I still think, and I really believe that I will be able to sell these pigs in halves and wholes in this market. And then if that works, then that should translate very well into the Nashville market.
We've all listened to the radio. There's a ton of stations out there. When you go as a business owner to look to try and sell your product via a radio ad, how did you match, here's the product I have, with the type of radio station that you think your consumers would be listening to?
Honestly, it's the station that I listen to the most. There's 2 stations that I listen to. They're both country stations. One in Bowling Green, Kentucky, one in Nashville, Tennessee. And I figured if I'm listening to that radio station and I'm into this sort of thing, then there's bound to be other people into what I'm into listening to that same radio station. I did have a conversation with a gentleman who raises conventional pigs with his wife, and he said that she had started out with a couple of Facebook ads, and they haven't done any advertising for the past 2 to 3 years based off those first ads. So what I'm hoping with this radio spot is to really boost and push forward the marketing aspect of it and tie it all in together with the website where I can take the deposits as well as Facebook ads and the social media aspect of it. So I'm kind of banking on both of them to go hand in hand to move this product kind of based on their previous experience.
So is it fair to say that the goal of this 1 month, I'll call it a trial that you're running, is to, one, sell some product now, but also get that snowball rolling downhill to make people aware and start checking out your other channels so then you're not solely radio reliant in the long term?
Correct. I mean, hopefully, what is kind of my way of, or at least my thinking is, it's my way of really boosting the presence of the farm and kind of skipping a year or two trying to build up that customer list by trying to build that customer base quicker using radio and social media and the internet presence of the website. Because in the long term, I don't want to do the farmer's market. Like I said, I want it to all be on farm, and this is my way of trying to catapult that more quickly.
When you approach a radio station to run an ad like this, how negotiable did you find things? Did they basically have a chart and says, you pick off this, you pay this much, here's what you get? Did you find there was some back and forth room in there?
Yeah, there's a little bit. When they the first conversations, they said, we don't want to scare you, but the budget's going to be about $1,000. Well, in my mind, that's kind of what I was thinking anyway. I had ran some radio ads in the past for a charity that I work with, so I was kind of expecting that $1,000 mark. And it's a kind of a customizable package. So, there will be so many spots per day, and we're still working on it, but the idea is to stay within that $1,000 budget. And they're really flexible. They're really easy to work with. I just left the radio station a little bit ago to record the spot, and they're actually super excited about it because they've never done anything like this in the past. So they were really anxious to get me in there and to record the spot, and they're really anxious to get it on the air to see what happens.
When you do an ad like this, I know there's some media companies, they own multiple stations. You mentioned there's 2 stations here. There's one in Bowling Green, one in, I think you said Nashville. Will this air just on one of those stations? Will it be on both?
Yeah, so this is 2 separate markets, and the radio stations are owned by 2 separate companies. The one in Bowling Green does have multiple stations, but their other stations I don't feel like they're a fit for this type of product. They're not country stations. They're more pop radio stations. So I don't really feel like this ad's going to go over with that community. I feel like this ad's really going to go over with the country community. So if this works, what I will do, assuming I can get more pigs from my other farmers, is that I would possibly run another ad with this separate radio station in Nashville.
I want to circle back to some of the details of what you're getting for what you're spending. It's one thing to settle up on the what they're going to deliver, but then you have to do your part and you have to craft your pitch, and they, I'm guessing, give you some time limit, 1 minute. So you go in and record it there. When you designed that pitch, what was the goal? Like, what's in your mind, and what are you trying to fit into there to make it work on radio to the people who you think are listening?
So their main key, and they really kind of led the conversation with how they thought the ad should go. They really helped me out with, this is what we think we should get in the ad. And their main thing was, we don't want to overwhelm the customer or the listener with too much information. So basically what's going to happen is that we're hoping to drive the traffic from the radio ad to the website. And then when the customer or the listener gets to the website, I'll have a longer video explaining more about how this whole process works. But what they tried to get in the ad was, pork chops, bacon, sausage, tenderloin. This is what you're going to get, and you're going to get it at a reduced price. One of their main things they wanted to hit on was that we're an organic farm. It's an organic pork, organic farm, non-GMO, no pesticides, no antibiotics, and it's 100% organic feed that we're feeding these animals. And that was really the main points they want to get across in the ad, because they want the customer to come back to the website to get more information.
It makes sense. So it's a funnel. This is the first step to move them through that
Correct.
process.
Yeah.
When you mention meat in their pork, is there specifics around retail cuts or bulk program, or are you just saying pork and then they go to the website and they learn about what they can buy in terms of pork?
Yeah, so basically the way the conversation started out was me listing all those core cuts, and then he kind of led into, so what do you have on farm now? And it was, well, right now we have on farm 25 organic pigs, and we tried to make it fun. When there was some banter back and forth about being live pigs, tree hugging pigs, since they were organic, things of that nature.
And when you go in and record this, do they do all the post-processing, editing, clean it up?
Yeah, they're doing everything. We basically did it in 1 or 2 takes, and it was based off another radio ad that I had heard for a local car dealership. And I know the girl who does that ad, and she says that they have pretty good success with it. So that was another plus for me in actually wanting to do the radio spot. But they handle the whole production of it. They're actually going to send me the recording. They're going to throw in a few like background sounds, maybe some birds chirping, maybe some pigs in the background and things like that. But they handle the whole spot from end to end. All you have to do, or all I had to do, was go in and talk about it. And normally it's just a producer or a radio talent that's talking about the product in the ad. But based on the conversations that we had, they wanted me to actually come in and record the spot, and it be the actual farmer that's talking about the product that we're trying to sell.
So thinking about dissecting the ad, the features of the product that you're offering are the different cuts, pork chops, bacon, organic, non-GMO, no pesticides, and then the benefit to them to help, like, hey, we're interested in all that stuff, is you get a discount by buying through a farm-based program.
Exactly. It's, basically you dissected it pretty well right there. It's, here's the cuts you're going to get. Here's the deposit amount. Here's how we raise it. It's organic. Go to the website and get more information or to place your deposit.
When you do something like that, do you send them to a specific page on your site, a specific landing page? You mentioned having a video, so then if they go to this page, they came from the radio ad versus somebody who just punched in a Google search or heard it on a podcast like this?
So not in this case. What I'm going to have them do is go directly to the website, vancesmillfarms.com. One reason I think is because the name is already long enough. I don't want to do vancesmillfarms.com /pork or /organic pork or anything like that. What I will do is on the front page, I'll change the front page around to where it kind of funnels them into the pork section. And then once they get to the pork category, then that's where we'll have the video explaining how the whole process works.
So really the whole goal of the radio ad, it's not necessarily to sell product, it's to get them to go to the website.
Correct. It's to, I guess, kind of build brand awareness, let folks know that we're out there, and to venture to the website to learn more about the process and, the cost and the benefits of purchasing in bulk, either halves or wholes.
Is a relatively new farm doing this in terms of you being a new farmer on a long-standing farm? How do you view $1,000 marketing cost? This is a space that tends to be very DIY, spending adverse. There's a lot of bootstrapping going on. $1,000 of marketing budget in the beginning, I know for sure for people listening to this, can sound like a ton of money. How do you view $1,000 in terms of marketing?
If I was trying to bootstrap this, then yeah, I would go to the farmer's market. I would try to push the product there. Again, I'm generally in a fortunate situation in that my consulting brings in decent money. So I have a little bit extra money to play with, and the fact that I'm a very impatient person. I want to try to move this along as fast as possible because I'm really trying to get out of the consulting area and I want to be focused on just a farm in the next anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So this is my avenue. This is the way I look at it is it's $1,000 on marketing. You know, that $1,000 goes into my cost on the pork, and that still leaves me with about $600 profit on the pig. And it's my way of trying to move this forward as quickly as possible so I can get on the farm full time and work on some of the other business ventures that we're trying to pursue so that we can have those various income streams for the different people in the family that we're trying to make income for. So for me, it's an investment and it's a long-term goal. And, you know, that's the way I view it.
And really tying it back into something you said earlier, if this is successful, in theory, you're amortizing that $1,000 over years into the future because this is the Kickstarter to get it going.
Right. So this $1,000 is figured into the first 25 pigs that we have on farm. But like you said, I mean, you know, we could sell 50 pigs. So, you know, that $1,000 could go a lot farther than just these 25 pigs. You know, that was another conversation that we had. You know, I said, if this works, then I'll be back and, you know, we'll sell chicken and turkey and things like that. So yeah, it's a test. It's $1,000. It's a lot of money to start out with, for a marketing budget, especially just on 25 pigs. But if it works, then there's some huge potential here. I know of a few folks, and I talked to a few folks that I went to class with. One person in particular I'm thinking of, he ran a few Facebook ads and he sold some product there. So my thinking is, you know, with a traditional medium like radio, you know, I feel like it's going to translate from social media to old school advertising. I feel like the translation is there and I feel like it's going to work. So I think it's going to work out for a long time to come.
You said a couple things there. Test, if it works. If we fast forward a month after these ads start airing and you have to make a decision to re-up or not, what do you have in mind as this was a successful test? This worked. Like, what do you need to see to say, I want to do this again?
I would think after the first month, if I sold close to half the pigs that we have now, I would call that a success. Obviously, the true success is to sell all 25 pigs. And that's my hopes, is that, you know, I will move all 25 pigs off the farm and, you know, this will start funding other things going forward. The limiting factor is the number of pigs that I have now and the butcher dates. My butcher dates are scheduled from September to October. I have 6 a week going every week for 5 weeks. So I actually have room for 5 more pigs should the need arise.
When you approach them about doing this ad here for a month, you mentioned they'll play it a few times a day. Like, what are you getting for that? They'll play it a certain number of times a day, but I'm imagining there's better times of day that are more expensive. Like the morning and evening commute is no doubt higher value time than 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. How does that work in terms of not just the number of ads that appear a day, but when they're appearing?
Well, I mean, the main goal is you're trying to get the word out to as many people as possible. And you never know who's going to be listening at what time. So the main focus is repetition. Obviously, yes, the morning time is, you know, it costs more. So if you wanted to run ads at just 2 o'clock in the morning, then yeah, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. But, you know, you have to be targeting something specific to those who are listening at 2 o'clock in the morning. These ads will run, you know, a couple to 3 times a day, you know, based on the budget. You know, the more you run them in the morning, the less ads you have. You know, you can spread them out through different periods of the day. But the whole goal of it is repetition and to keep that ad front of mind for the listener.
And this is old school advertising. This is something that's been done forever. So the radio companies have all sorts of stats and metrics on this type of advertising. What do they estimate in terms of the number of people that'll hear this ad?
That's a good question. We're absolutely not sure because this is something that's, new for them. And that's something I can double back on and check with them on. But, you mentioned that, this is an old school way of advertising, but it works. If you listen to the radio and there was no ads, you wouldn't be listening to the radio because there would be no radio. So, that's a good question. I honestly didn't think to ask that. But that's something I'll circle back on and see. But the way I look at it is, speaking with Amanda and what she does with the car lot and the success that they've had with it, I feel like it'll translate.
I guess the other thing you could testing out here is essentially it's the ad itself, right? Like one variable could be, there's many variables to quantify, like did this work? And I don't know if 1 month's even enough to trial it, just from me thinking about this as an outsider. I mean, one, it could be when the ad is airing. Two, it could be what's actually said in the ad. And there's some combination of both of those things because it could be airing at the most optimal times. But if the ad itself just doesn't have the right wording or the right formatting to it, then it doesn't work. So I'm assuming at the end of a month, it's review. Okay, how did this go? And then like, do we need to change anything? The times of day it's going to air. Do we need to change any of the wording in the ad? And maybe at some point, I just think of like split testing. You have multiple ads out there that send people to potentially slightly different places, and then you can start to get a feel for which one is pushing more.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head right there is the split testing. Normally what you would do, especially on the internet, is you would do an A/B split test to see which ad is more effective. And that's something I've done in the past with the retail business that I've had. It goes a lot faster on the internet, of course, than it does on the radio. If you're going to do an A/B split test on the radio, you would want to keep the times of day that the ad was run relatively the same. And then you would want to change the ad content after a month. So say we sell 5 to 10 pigs in the first month. We may go in there and we may change the ad and fine tune it a little bit, make some different comments, hit on some different points in the second month, if we decide to re-up based on the first month, and then see which month did better. If that's the case, then, month 2 might go better than month 1, or month 1 may have been better than month 2. If that's the case, then, it's trial and error at that point, just like an A/B split test on the internet.
And really through this ad process, you're shepherding them along to learn more about you, your farming methods, your brand. So the ad moves them to the site. The site's going to have a video on it. Is the initial goal of that page where they land to get them to watch the video, and then from there, is it to just sign up for a mailing list, follow you guys on social, or are you trying to push a sale off those first pages?
No, I'm actually going to try to push the sale. I'm going to push the sale of the whole and half deposit. So the whole deposit will be $250 and the half will be $125. So the ultimate goal is to drive people to the website to actually go ahead and purchase, or actually pay the deposit on the whole or the half. We will hopefully collect emails as kind of a byproduct of people visiting the site. But that's not the main goal. The main goal is to get those deposits on those animals.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. It's really interesting. We'll have to follow up in the future and see how this works for you, because I do think there's something there. I think industry, I think radio, print, they kind of get pushed to the side as forgotten and old school, but I think there's definitely something there that works because, like you said, the content wouldn't exist if there wasn't advertising there, and people wouldn't pay for that advertising if they weren't seeing some results. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, because it might be a benefit, particularly in smaller areas, right? That's one thing I think of is smaller communities that are maybe more geographically dispersed. The radio has the nice benefit of having a direct signal into everyone's tractor, house, truck, versus trying to get to people online or trying to get them to come to a market. And I think radio is a very different picture if you're selling in Los Angeles or New York City versus a rural town in Kentucky or Texas.
Right. And, trying to, at least from what I've seen in the past, or in the past with the Facebook marketing, or at least the Facebook marketing that I've done to kind of gain followers on our farm page, is that it's not hard to get the folks to follow the page, but if you run an ad on the page, or if you're putting a video out there on the page that's marketing the product, right now we have 600 followers. If I post a picture or a video explaining what we're trying to do, less than 10% of those people are actually going to see that video. So you actually have to pay to boost that post for those people to see the ad. And I think it cost me about $1 per person, to get those likes. So, I mean, right there, that's $600 and there's no sales. So I'm hoping that this $1,000 will equal sales. The main reason that I was getting those people to follow the page, at that time was, to boost the social media presence, to get some kind of validity behind the farm page, so that, there's not just 2 people liking the page or 5 people liking the page. It's kind of that social proof on that page, so that later on when we start running these ads online, we've kind of got a fan base built up already, and it should be a little bit cheaper in the future to run those ads and boost those posts to the people who are already following the page. The radio medium is just, is totally separate. It's to drive people to the website to purchase, the deposit.
Yeah, and as I think about this, if I'm doing it, the other great thing about doing any sort of ad is when you start getting people sign up as a result of that ad, you can then follow up with them and start to find out what attracted you here. Was it the word organic? Was it not GMO? Was it bacon? And then if you start to see patterns, then you can refine future ads and put more of that verbiage in versus some of the stuff right now that you're kind of guessing, right? Like that some of these buzzwords are buzzwords that are going to generate action.
Right. And it's just like running an ad on the internet. I mean, until you actually start doing it, it's just guessing. You're trying to figure out what you think the customer will react to. But initially, there's not a lot of people doing this. There's not, I'm the only person I know that's running radio ads for their farm. I've known a few people to do Facebook ads. But, when you're just starting out, you're just figuring it out. And it's really all guesswork. I mean, even, going to a farmer's market, you don't know what's going to work. You had the episode on with the gentleman who changed his display around. He realized that, hey, my display is not working. He changed it around and he doubled his sales. It's the same thing. You don't know what's going to work until you try it. And I'm willing to try to move things forward as quickly as possible.
And I mean, really, your best case scenario here is this blows up in a good way and it leads to a bunch of business. And at that point, if you can move enough off farm, then you just pull back out of the farmer's market, right? Because that's not the long-term goal. It's to do more off farm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it would be, I don't know, maybe I should be excited about this farmer's market, but I'm not. It's an outdoor farmer's market. It's rain or shine. It's, I don't know. I mean, the area is a good area for this type of product. East Nashville is the trendy up and coming area. There's a lot of disposable income in that area. but I'm just not super excited about it. I'm like Joe Salatin. I think it's a very inefficient way of marketing your product. I think getting people on farm, people coming to me is the best way to go in the long term, especially for our situation. And our situation is different from everybody else's. I'm not Joel. What works for him may not work for me. What works for Greg Chudy doesn't work for me. Greg doesn't have a tractor. We have a ton of equipment. That works for him. Having equipment works for me. So it's basically what you feel like is going to work in your situation. And yeah, it would be great to sell all 25 of these animals. And if that's the case, then I'll go back to these other farmers that I'm getting them from, and we'll purchase more product and move more product.
What do you do in a situation where you have 25 pigs on farm, you have butchering dates scheduled out, and you're now starting to run ads and you don't know how those ads are going to play out? As you start to do those initial butchering cycles, are you at that point just basing cuts off what you think you can move in retail? Or do you have enough flexibility to say, if these early wave of radio sales that come in, you could divide up some of the butchering between that product and farmer's market? Because I imagine there could be some balance there, and there's also going to be some assumptions and guesswork.
Yeah, so right now what we have is we have 6 pigs in the freezer for our retail cuts. And a lot of those retail cuts were based on what Darby has. So that's kind of the way I played it out. The butchering dates that I have set up for these 25 to 30 pigs in September and October is basically all that he will be able to handle. So there will be no flexibility in September or October. It's 6 pigs a week, every week for 5 weeks. If we sell out the shares in a pretty quick manner, what I'll do is I'll start contacting customers and trying to move them forward. So what I would do is I'd go back to the farmers that I work with. I would purchase more product from them, a little bit bigger animal, and I would try to move people forward. And then hopefully the back orders that we would have coming in, I would push them out to the butchering dates in September and October. So if we sold more and I had to go get fat hogs from these farmers, I would make a little less, but at the same time, it's quantity that I'm moving out the door. So even though I'm making less, I'm still making money. But the butcher dates are not flexible for September and October. I would have to work with the butcher to try to get something, 6 weeks out from whenever we start trying to move people forward in the queue.
How do you view this? I think this is a problem, but this might not be a problem in reality. And the problem I see with selling bulk style meat is you're putting a deposit down now and you're getting meat later, a lot later, versus getting something now that you pay for now. And I've had experiences with this, not selling meat, but doing the workshop, doing the conference where you're selling something ahead of the delivery date, and it's a trickier buy for people. It's delayed gratification. I think it's a harder sell. For people that might come in on this radio ad and say, oh yeah, I'm interested, but man, I got to wait till September, October to get this product. Do you have the ability to say, well, yes, but if you want product now, here's what we have and here's what we can do for you using some of those 6 cut-ups in the freezer? Or is that not a worry?
It's not a worry. This is part of selling halves and wholes, and that's kind of the conversation that you have to have with the customer is that, you're paying the deposit now. We're raising this animal for you, but the long-term benefit is that you're going to get, X amount of product for, say, $7.50 to $8 a pound. So you're getting your sausage for $8 a pound, but you're also getting your bacon, your tenderloin, your chops for, $8 a pound. So yeah, there is a little, there's a delay, but what you're doing is you're pre-purchasing in the hopes that you're getting a product that is going to cost me less in the long run. It's sales. You have to work with the customer and talk to the customer and explain the benefits of why it is what it is. But as far as the retail cuts go, those are strictly for the farmer's market. If we had other product on a farm, we might have a field day and say, okay, so-and-so day, you can come to the farm and you can purchase the retail cuts if you want to, get product earlier. But right now, it's not really, I'm not concerned about it. I think that with explanation, I think the customer will understand how it works.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear how this plays out. It's a different model than we've ever heard before on the show. It's a different model than I think most people would take on, and I'm really excited to see how the results come out. Maybe we can get a copy of that ad when it airs and I can stitch it into this episode.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and that's my hopes, is I was going to ask the radio station if I could, get you a copy of the ad so that they could hear, so that other listeners of this podcast could actually hear the spot. And hopefully it works out. I mean, my confidence level is pretty high on this. I think this is really going to work, and I think it's going to help move things forward pretty quickly.
Well, we'll be sure to follow up in the future on that. In the meantime, for people that want to follow along with what you're doing on farm or look to purchase product off the farm, where are the best places they can go to learn more about Vance's Mill Farm and Kelly Bush?
So the best places to go is vancesmillfarms.com or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Vance's Mill Farm.
That concludes the interview portion of the episode with Kelly. Now I want to give you a chance to listen to the first ad that Kelly recorded. Here it is, ad number 1, advertising Vance's Mill Farms, pastured pork.
Boston buck, pork chops, tenderloin, bacon, sausage.
That's coming from Vance's Mill Farms. Kelly Bush, now tell me what you have exactly.
Right now we have 25 organic pigs on the farm, ready to be sold in halves and whole shares of meat.
Walking on all fours.
Walking on all fours.
Now, these pigs are not just your everyday pigs. There's something special about them, right?
That's right. They're 100% certified organic on a certified organic farm, fed with 100% certified organic feed.
No GMOs, no hormones, no pesticides.
That's right. Raised on pasture.
What's the deposit on a pig?
$250 for a whole, $125 for a half.
About how much meat's going to be available?
About 125 to 150 pounds, depending on the final weight of the pig. You'll get the Boston butt, you'll get the ham, you'll get sausage, you'll get ham steaks, tenderloins, pork chops, bone in, bone out, whichever way you want to, we'll get it.
Tree-hugging pigs, ready for it.
Tree-hugging pigs, that's right.
For anybody to find out more information, where do they need to go?
VancesMillFarms.com.
VancesMillFarms.com. Here's the better eating.
That was ad number 1. Now let's go to ad number 2. This is the revised ad. Here it is.
Boston butt, pork chops, tenderloin, bacon, sausage, everything but the eggs.
Everything but the eggs. It's Kelly Bush from Vance's Mill Farms. So what you got going on people need to know about?
25 pigs on farm, ready to take deposits on whole and half shares of meat.
Kelly, these are not just your average pigs. These are special pigs, right?
100% organic, raised on an organic farm, fed 100% organic feed.
Tree-hugging pigs, just for you.
That's right.
Kelly, after processing, about how much meat's going to be available?
About 125 to 150 pounds, depending on the final weight of the pig.
Now, if people want more information, where do they need to go?
VancesMillFarms.com.
VancesMillFarms.com. And you can get all the cuts that Kelly mentioned right at the very beginning. And Kelly, what were those again?
Pork chop, tenderloin, ham steaks, Boston butt, whatever you want, we'll get it.
Kelly Bush is now taking deposits on half or whole shares of organic hog. If you want more info about how you can get in on this, go to VancesMillFarms.com. That's VancesMillFarms.com.
There they are, the 2 ads that Kelly ran on one of his favorite country stations in Kentucky, advertising his bulk pork sales program. What do you think of those ads? How do you think they worked? Stay tuned to find out the actual results from those ads next week on the next episode of Grassfed Life. To learn more about Kelly, be sure to check him out at vancesmillfarms.com. You can find all his links in the show notes for this episode. And if you're listening to this and you want to follow in the footsteps of Kelly or some of the other farmers that I interview on this show, or the footsteps of somebody like Darby, but you're not quite sure how to take that idea or that dream and make it a reality. You're worried about the business just not working or failing, or how do you be profitable, or where do you even start? If that's you, then we have a way to help you. It's called the Farm Business Essentials online course. That course is a complete A to Z system for starting your livestock-based farm out on the right foot, getting it up and running the right way and on path to profitability as quickly as you can. Over the past few months, while I have been off from the podcast, I haven't been off in terms of work, and Darby and I have been putting in a lot of work on the course. We've made a lot of changes to the course. We've updated a lot of the content to the course, and we've moved the course over to a brand new site to make it faster and easier to access. If you want to learn more about the Farm Business Essentials online course, check it out at farmbusinessessentials.com. And if you sign up for that course between now and November 19th, you're going to get a special bonus. And that bonus is one that I think you're going to find very valuable. Because if you sign up for the Farm Business Essentials between now and November 19th, you're going to get access to the on-farm poultry processing course for free. That's a brand new course that's launching on November 1st. It's going to retail for $150. If you sign up for the Farm Business Essentials between now and November 19th, you're going to get that $150 course for free. To learn more and find out more information about the new and improved, much faster and more robust Farm Business Essentials online course, visit farmbusinessessentials.com. That's all for this one, everybody. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned next week for a new episode of Grassfed Life. And until then, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.